Hi everyone! Welcome to our virtual tiny house tour and educational video number 1. This is the tiny house in my backyard, or THIMBY project, that I will be showing you today in an introductory tour. Our first virtual tour that we've done for a group of students. So we're very excited to show you our house. So I'm standing here at what we call the water wall of the house. This is intended to be a living wall that we built onto the house that contains 2 large planter boxes designed to pump up the gray water from our gray water tanks and filter them down through the wall of plants, and then recollect the filtered gray water for additional non-potable water uses. So we're going to walk around the house from the outside before going inside to take a closer look. So follow me.
Lainey, where's that bottom planter box?
Oh, so the planter boxes, great question. They are currently under reconstruction. The top box is still in place, but the lower one we disassembled in order to improve the filtration performance of the planter boxes. So we're going to put those back in, redesigned more like a slow sand filter, if you're familiar with those, so it can have better water filtration performance. The tiny house is always under construction in some way. We're always improving and working on it to make it as functional as possible. So here I just want to point out the exterior siding of the house, which is this beautiful salvaged cedar boards that we got from a salvage yard, very affordable, and milled up into the boards that are now on the house. And they are over a beautiful feature of the house, this thermocork insulation, which I'm poking at. It's a miraculous insulation product. It has great R values and acoustic performance. So when you're inside the house and someone's out here talking, you really just can't hear anything. So we're really pleased with the cork. And walking around now, we're going to visit the energy wall. So we just saw the water wall. And here is the energy wall of the house where we power our daily lives. So I will just point out the key features on this wall. Most fancily, the Tesla Powerwall, which is the first model that Tesla put out. And we were lucky enough to get one of their first units to try and test out the design and performance and give them feedback on how it worked.
Lainey, what is a Tesla Powerwall?
Oh, great question. A Tesla Powerwall is a lithium-ion battery that stores solar energy from our solar panels, which are up on the roof, which you can't see from this angle. But we have 8 solar panels, 285 watt panels for a 2.2 kilowatt system total. And that energy gets fed into the battery where it can be stored for use inside the house. Once it is transformed through the inverter, our solar edge inverter right here, transforms the solar power into AC electricity that can be used for our household appliances. And here is just some additional electrical equipment. We have the ability to connect to an electrical grid as well as function off the grid thanks to our battery for a limited period of time if we don't get any sunshine. But we designed the house to be flexible to multiple locations and configurations that way. Oh, and before we leave this wall, I'll just point out at the very top, there's a shelf on this wall that holds our heat pump unit. So that is what we use to generate hot water. It's a really cool technology that I hope you all learn more about. So our heat pump unit is up on that shelf, and then the hot water tank that it feeds is inside the house, and we'll take a look at that. So now I'm gonna walk into our beautiful house. We have a planter box growing lots of herbs right now. It's been really happy with the winter rains. And we have 3 glass window and door panels right here that are really high performance that allow us to capture some solar gains in the winter, and we could lower these awnings to prevent unwanted solar gains in the summer when we don't want to be too hot inside. So come on in. Okay, before we dive into the interior features of our house, I just want to explain the purpose of why we built this tiny house. Like I mentioned, it's called the THIMBY project, and we built it as a group of UC Berkeley undergraduate and graduate students for the first ever California tiny house competition for colleges and universities. And that was held in 2016 and hosted by the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, or SMUD. So we built the house to be an off-grid tiny house on wheels. Those were the competition specifications. And within that, our team really landed on the two design principles of sustainability and affordability. And we decided to be really uncompromising on building the most sustainable house possible. And within that, making it as affordable as possible while using sustainable materials. So we wanted it to be accessible to a wide range of future users. And even within our sustainable model, the house ended up costing about $40,000 in materials, which is so much more reasonable than the cost of buying a new or previously occupied home. So especially in the Bay Area. So thinking about the key design decisions to make a sustainable and affordable house, one example that I'll give about choosing materials was the exterior insulation decision. When we thought about what's most affordable and readily available, we reluctantly decided we might have to use these foam insulation panels that are widely available in the building market. So we put up the foam insulation panels, regretting that it was a petroleum-based product, and then we learned about the thermocork panels, which were a new product on the market made out of cork, where you can harvest the cork trees in Portugal and Spain and wherever cork trees grow, just using the exterior bark to make the panels and not cutting down the trees, so it's able to continue to grow and be harvested sustainably. So we learned about that and loved the idea. So we took down our foam panels, used them for other purposes, and put on the cork insulation, which now we've been one of the first users of it, and we can highly recommend that product. So other key design decisions we made by using a SketchUp model to first make a 3D representation of the house, which Brett is going to show you and talk about over on his computer.
Here's the kitchen. The house is like all kitchen.
Well, yeah, while Brett gets this pulled up, I'll just briefly introduce both of us a little bit further. My name is Lainey Signer, and I'm one of the project founders and current residents of the tiny house. And Brett Webster, my partner in crime and tiny house project construction manager, is right here.
Okay, so here's the SketchUp model of the house. You can see the outside looks pretty much like it did when you just walked around it on the video. The planter box wall looks a little more thriving with the plants. But the SketchUp model was essential for us to be able to build the house. Having an accurate drawing and especially a 3D model made it so that when it came time for construction, we could go in and look at all the details about, how far this bathroom wall was from the end wall of the house, or come in and if I forgot the measurement of this small piece, I could just take the measuring tool and say and remind myself, oh yeah, 1.5 inches. And so we could make cuts, and we use this model for pretty much every day during the construction process. So having a good design and having it accurately represented in some kind of drawing is a key piece to success when it comes time to build.
And Brett, how was it for you learning to use SketchUp? Was it difficult or not too bad?
Well, I'm still not an expert in SketchUp, but it's really easy to navigate, and it's really easy to move things. It's really nice to be able to make layers. So if I wanted to see what was underneath this roof cap, and I could just take, and I could just take the roof cap off and then go look at the framing and see the framing spacing around the window and whatnot.
Wow.
That's pretty useful feature of having a 3D model. So I found it pretty easy to use and really helpful.
That's awesome. And given the current situation we're in with shelter in place, I think you all as students have the opportunity to really do the design process justice and do a super thorough job up front rather than what we did, which was kind of go back and forth between the SketchUp drawing and the actual building. So when you really invest in the design process up front, the building can go way faster when you can get to it. So interior house tour, here I am standing in the living room. As you can see, it's miraculously the perfect height for me to still be able to stand under it, but taller people maybe not. So we have a nice couch here where we can watch TV, read a book, and Brett built this couch to have 2 enormous drawers inside of it for clothing storage. So these are the biggest drawers I've ever had in my life in my tiny house. They work great. And then now we have our lofted bed up above us, and a ladder that pulls out at an angle to be able to access the bed easily.
Show the pull out. Show the pull out.
Okay, the ladder pulls out. It's really exciting. It's a library ladder on a pole. So, ta-da! Easy climbing. Now it's all bundled up. And now I'm walking into the kitchen where we really prioritize having a fully functioning kitchen space. So we have plenty of counter space, some basic appliances, shelving for storage of equipment. We have an amazing toaster oven that slides out of this shelf here, and I'll just leave it open when Brett comes around because it's big enough to bake a loaf of bread, bake a whole chicken. It's one of the bigger toaster ovens out there, and so it works really, really well for us. This induction cooktop is also amazing. It's induction, meaning it uses electricity and magnets to heat whatever's on top of it, which has to be metal. So it's just amazing. It's really energy efficient. It cooks really quickly. It's really the way of the future. So keep your eye out for induction cooktops.
And it was pretty cheap. That whole stove cost less than $200.
Okay, coming through you can see the tiny fridge, the mini fridge, and the toaster oven. We'll close that up. We'll come into the bathroom.
Before we go into the bathroom, one other thing I want to point out is this ventilation fan here. So with 2 people living in such a small space, being able to have enough fresh air coming into the building is really important. And so this appliance is called an energy recovery ventilator, and it takes stale air out of the building and brings in fresh air, and then heat exchanges in between them so you don't lose all your precious heat from inside.
Yes, it's an essential feature to tiny living in a well-insulated building. So I'm standing in our newly renovated shower. We put in these new metal roofing panels as a waterproof and super lightweight material, replacing some older panels that had started to just wear out. So it's great. It's like a normal size big shower. We really also wanted that for occupant comfort. We have our toilet box right here that can be curtained off when you're showering, or using when you're going to the bathroom. It's a urine diverting toilet, meaning urine is collected separately from solid waste, and that's a key feature for high performance composting toilets. It allows the waste to be treated separately as it needs to be treated. So that's our toilet box.
And you can even get some privacy in the bathroom with this little sliding door here.
Yeah, you don't always want to be
Goodbye, Lainey.
in front of your partner.
Oh, hello, Lainey.
Hello. So here's our hot water tank. As I mentioned, it connects to the heat pump unit outside, and it's really amazing. It's a very large tank. So we use it for both hot water for showers and dishwashing, and also we pump the hot water through the floor using this pump up here in our mechanical area. So that pump moves the hot water through the floor, heating the space because it's a small space. It doesn't take very much heat, and making the floor nice and toasty. So when you wake up in the morning, you have a nice heated floor to walk around on. So we love our hot water system. And we got some more clothing storage here in this armoire. And then coming back out here, I'll just mention a few things that I know are relevant to you all working on your tiny house project. we learned through building this house that there are so many possible uses and applications of tiny houses, from infill housing to standalone units like this, to tiny house communities and the ability to address homeless housing. That takes a little bit more coordination with city planners and homeless service organizations, but there's certainly endless possibilities here with the tiny house movement. And if you're building a house that's not just a fully functional house, but more of a bedroom with, closet and desk area, which we built for friends of ours, and you can see a picture of over here, you definitely have additional considerations like how to provide and access shared or communal facilities for things like kitchen, bathroom, storage. And the communal space design will be something we can talk about in a follow-up video. So yeah, this is just the house that we built to have a bed, desk, closet area. And so with that, I'll just wrap up and say that the process of building a tiny house is really an amazing educational value to the builders and project participants. And tiny houses in general just have immense educational value to people and communities. You learn so much from building a tiny house that's transferable to other 21st century green jobs, and skills from organization, project management, hands-on skills, and tool handiness is something that will serve you well no matter what you do. So I've been really grateful for the knowledge and skills that I gained through working on this, and we've tried to share that as much as possible with other groups of students. A construction training program from Marin City came out to visit the house, and just hosting as many tours and workshops as possible to show those who want to build tiny houses or those who want to live in them how to design a comfortable, safe, and sustainable space. So I look forward to answering your more specific questions in a follow-up video, and hope that you think about this and get back to me and allow us to be in conversation about how to build the right tiny house for your projects that you're interested in, and prepare you for future projects and green building skills that'll serve you well and give you lots of job prospects in the future.